coming up throughout our Day 13 coverage of Broncos training camp. James Palmer of the NFL Network shares some insight into yesterday's ownership transfer and previews what we can expect during tomorrow's joint practice with the Cowboys. Then I'll catch up with Broncos kicker Brandon McManus to get the player perspective of the latest changes around the building and learn how this training camp has been different than any he's ever been a part of. Finally, the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater and legendary Broncos safety Steve Foley share the stage and will take you through today's jog through practice. All that and so much more coming up next.
Welcome to Broncos Training Camp 2022 with Steve Atwater. Here's your host, Alexis Perry.
Today is a regen day for the Denver Broncos, who will slow things down and spend the next hour and a half prioritizing the health and safety of the players while working on the mental side of the game as they prepare for a heavy workload during a joint practice with the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow. Hello, everyone, and welcome inside the UC Health Training Center. I'm Alexis Perry, joined by my good friend from the NFL Network, James Palmer. James, of course, we're going to send things up to my favorite Steves, Atwater and Foley, here in just a little bit. Everybody's favorite Steves, right?
For sure.
But first, you were a part of a historic day yesterday as 31 owners approved the transition of the Denver Broncos from the Bolin family to the Walton Penner Group. What was the atmosphere like there in Minneapolis, and what did you learn about this new ownership group?
Well, I'll say this, Alexis, the atmosphere was pretty relaxed because everybody knew this was going to go through, so there wasn't any panic by any means. It was a very exciting day for the other owners. They love when a group comes in that kind of has the pedigree of the Walton Penner Group. And it was funny, you get a chance to sit right next to the room where they are having the vote. And I'm in a different room, and I'm having a cup of coffee, and there's a round of applause, and then there's another round of applause. And I think things are going pretty well.
Yes.
So a unanimous decision was what everybody was expecting. The owners obviously had a lot of other things they needed to discuss. That was in a separate meeting after the initial meeting took place, because obviously they had to touch on Dan Snyder and Stephen Ross and Deshaun Watson and all of these different things the commissioner wanted to speak to the owners about. It was funny because the Walton Penner Group jumped right into that very first meeting. Amazing. Right after getting the Denver Broncos officially as their new team. So it was actually a really fun atmosphere in the afternoon because everybody kind of assumed and knew that this was going to go off without a hitch, and that's exactly how it went.
How have the changes over the last 8 months really impacted the national perspective of the Denver Broncos?
Well, one thing that's really should be pointed out for this ownership group is they're coming in and they don't need to make any decisions on the football side of things, right? They just have a new head coach, and their general manager and George Payton just arrived about a year and a half ago, and they have obviously a franchise quarterback in Russell Wilson. So a lot of times, you come in, an ownership group comes in. This doesn't happen very often, but when it does, you got to make wholesale changes within the organization. They don't need to do that. The football side is fine. I think when you look at this group, and they are now the wealthiest ownership group in all of football, the spotlight is back on the Denver Broncos, specifically because people are curious, obviously. Russell Wilson is here. We have an energetic head coach here in Denver. Will there be a new stadium? Will there be changes made within this organization? Because over the last several years, it's been operating through the Pat Bowlen Trust. And that's one other aspect I want to bring up real quick about yesterday. The respect and admiration that Commissioner Roger Goodell showed for Joe Ellis and what he had done over the last several years was clear, present, and completely worthy of what he has done during the years he ran the trust, Alexis. But I think the national perspective now is there might be some big things happening in Denver now.
Well, we all know this is all about winning football games and getting better each and every day, and that's what this team hopes to do over the next couple of days with the Dallas Cowboys in town for practice tomorrow and, of course, the game on Saturday. So, James, not all teams participate in joint practices, but why do you think they're beneficial?
Oh, they're extremely beneficial. And it's funny, there's a differing approach from a lot of head coaches. Andy Reid is not one that loves to do it. He's a Hall of Fame coach. Bill Belichick loves to do it, and he is a Hall of Fame coach. So there's a different approach with each one of these guys of what they love about it. And a lot of times, if you want to find things about your team in a controlled environment, as close to a game atmosphere as possible, that's joint practices, right? So if you really want to see what Russell Wilson and Courtland Sutton are bringing, well, you're going against one of the best corners in football in Diggs. Let's see what we're doing against somebody else. What is this entire group able to do against a quarterback, the caliber of Dak Prescott? and CeeDee Lamb. And so you get a chance to really get a look at what you've been working on and whether it's working or not.
One guy who has participated in his fair share of joint practices and has experienced the highs and lows with this franchise over the last 8 seasons, the longest tenured Bronco kicker, Brandon McManus. I caught up with him before practice today to learn what he's looking forward to now that the new era of Broncos football is officially here. Take a listen. Brandon, since joining the Broncos in 2014, you've really seen it all, from the Peyton Manning era, Super Bowl 50, of course missing the playoffs 6 straight seasons, and now a new leaf. From the player perspective, what have the past 8 years been like for you?
Yeah, it's been a journey. Obviously, it was pretty exciting in the beginning, a couple years here. I was fortunate enough in 2014 when I was traded here to meet Pat Bowlen and to talk with him and then to hear the stories, following the importance of him to this organization and everything, and whatever the players needed, whatever the team needed in order to win, he helped provide that. So, which transitioned into some good years. My first 2 years in 14 and 15, and obviously able to win the Super Bowl. And since that, it's been a downturn and not winning, but looking forward to this new regime here with Hackett, our new head coach, and Russell Wilson, and now our ownership group, bring it all together and help provide everything that we need to get back to the promised land.
Yeah, what do you like about this new ownership group?
I don't know much about them specifically yet, but it's always good to kind of have an establishment, a chain of command, and unfortunately, with the passing of Pat Bowlen and the transition, it's been a little difficult, I think. But now to have, like I said, the chain of command and gives everybody, roles and know what to do, I think it'll be huge. And I'm looking forward to, learning the business side outside of football. I'm always trying to become a better human being, and I know I personally have done a lot of work with Walmart in the community, and look forward to continuing to build that and learn some business minds from Melanie and all these other incredible people.
Well, the Dallas Cowboys, they will be here tomorrow. As somebody who's been a part of a ton of joint practices, what does the team gain from those?
I think it's huge. I think as much as even the games, obviously you have to generate situations in games that kind of fall into it. But a chance to go up against somebody different, and all these players get tired of going up against the same person, and they see the same moves. So I think it'll be great to see new competition come in here, and it's always good to test your skills against somebody else, and I think that's what these joint practices do. And there's a lot of energy out there and competition. You could see who's going to help our team win, and look forward to building on this year.
Thanks to your position, you have the chance to really evaluate all 3 phases of the game. What has really stood out in terms of growth for the offense, defense, and special teams this year?
Yeah, I think one thing coming in here, we knew we had a pretty good defense, a lot of good players on defense, and I think Evero Ojiro has done a phenomenal job, and just watching them play out there, they love to fly around, a lot of energy on the defense, which is always good to have. And then just watch the composure of Russell, the intelligence, and we kind of talked about it last night, kind of like defense is so high intensity. They're always talking, always chirping, and the key about being, someone like Russ, he's kind of even keeled, and which is key to compose or keep your heart rate down. Know what everyone's doing, and I think he's really brought a whole nother level to the offense of doing that. And so it's been a pleasure to watch both sides of the ball. As you said, I have a lot of downtime and able to watch some.
Well, what about special teams? What have you seen from those guys? Yeah,
I think similar to the defense, special teams is an energy type deal, and it's all about willpower. It's all about I want to do it. Effort is huge on special teams. A lot of the guys, especially you'll see here in the preseason, they'll be playing offensive, defensive snaps, and then have to do special teams, something they've never done before. And but that's the unique thing about the NFL. A lot of these guys are paid handsomely. They're definitely the starters. So these other guys in roles on this team that have to perform on special teams, and that's kind of the niche that they'll create for themselves. And so I'm looking forward to the first opportunity to watch these guys fly around on special teams.
Lastly, obviously a seasoned veteran, but any personal goals for yourself this year?
Yeah, I think always, I go into the season always never wanting to miss a kick, especially anything under 55 is definitely a goal of mine, is to always make them. And then any opportunity where the situation, garners me to make a crucial kick or a game-winning kick. Obviously, make sure I make all those, and then continue to be a great leader for this locker room. People can lean on me, for experiences, and want to help out as much as possible in growing, both players, their performance on the field and then their impact off the field. So,
B-Mac, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Always great to hear from the kicker, Brandon McManus. But now, as practice starts to get underway, I will turn things over to the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater and one of the iconic members of the Orange Crush defense, former Broncos safety Steve Foley. The Tulane product was drafted by the Broncos in the 8th round of the 1975 draft and enjoyed an 11-year career which featured 2 Super Bowl appearances. Sticky Hand Steve Foley was named All-Pro in 1978 and still holds the record for the most career interceptions with 44. One of the nicest people you will ever meet, Steve Foley is standing by with the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. Gentlemen, take it away.
Oh, man, beautiful, beautiful. Sticky Hand Steve Foley. How did you get a jump on that out route?
It was actually Seattle for the division championship, and I was playing free safety. It was a scary thing.
You were playing free safety and got over there?
I was playing free safety, and he was in the slot, and he did a 5-yard hitch, and the quarterback would, if he saw a blitz, which it was an all-out blitz, and I said, man, you better get to the quarterback because
right.
This slot guy will take you everywhere.
Right.
And if he saw the rush, the blitz, he'd pull up and throw a 5-yard hitch, and I decided to take a chance.
Wow.
I took a chance, and it worked out.
Big 6 to the house.
To the house.
Come on, man. 44 interceptions, career interceptions.
Hey, even a blind pig finds an acorn every now and then.
Oh, man. Did you drop any?
Of course you dropped some.
I dropped a lot.
Well, that's why you did. Otherwise,
you dropped much fewer than I did.
I always say this. I do have the interception record, but if Dennis Smith had better hands, Dennis was as good of a cover, strong safety. He used to bait tight ends. The ball hit him in the chest sometimes. Dennis was a fantastic cover guy. And, of course, my number 1, Louis Wright.
Oh,
Louis was as good as any. And, Louis had better hands, man.
He had hands too, huh?
He'd be rolling.
Oh, man.
Louis would have had 60.
Wow. So, man, I'm so happy that you came out, get a chance to see the youngsters up here walking by, waving, Peyton Manning jerseys on. What a beautiful day.
Hey, man, let's get some number 3 jerseys on there. It's got to be the hottest selling jersey,
You haven't gotten one yet?
This is my first time at training camp.
Oh,
Thank you for inviting me.
Man, you got to get you a number 3 jersey. I got everybody else in my family one. I didn't get myself one. I got to get the extra large for me.
Yeah. Oh, look, this is a special season, a special time. I don't think we've gone through ownership changes and quarterback changes, but not really in the same year. When new ownership came in, the quarterbacks were already established.
Yeah.
And
so wait a minute. So you went through the 2 previous ownership changes, first from Phipps to Kaiser.
Yes.
And then from Kaiser to Bolin.
Yes.
What was that like? What can Broncos country expect?
Well, the first change to Kaiser, back then the franchises weren't worth nearly as much. I believe it was around $30 million that Gerald Phipps sold. $30 million, yeah, but $30 million back in the 70s was a lot of money, and then Kaiser sold it to Bolin for about $80 million, and this is what you see, $4.5 million. Oh, man.
I know they're probably saying, yes, man, I got a great deal for this.
But you don't know at the time.
Yeah.
Because most of that growth has happened in the last 10 to 15 years. And so it was...
That's how I feel about some of my stocks that I let go of.
Oh, yeah, look. Yeah, don't talk about it. I was like, wouldn't it be good to make an investment like that? But
oh, man.
Like this team. But the ownerships, the players, from a player's perspective, you're looking at, are the owners going to be for the players? What are they going to do when they come in? And there was some eye-opening moments when Edgar Kaiser came in, because there was rumor that he was trying to trade Randy Gradishar, and we were like,
what?
He was the #1 draft choice, middle linebacker, the linchpin of your defense, and I think Randy Gradishar had a no trade clause
said, how you going to trade him without it?
But for the rest of us, we were like, what does that mean for us? Right. So I don't – the team wasn't long for Kaiser. I don't think he saw it. He saw it as a financial investment. And we did okay under that, but I think everybody was like, "Whoa, this is not like Phipps was, and it was never like Bolin was."
Yeah.
Pat was for the players, win at all costs.
And now, does that impact the players and their effort on the field? I wouldn't say effort, but how does that impact the players' mindsets? If you have an owner who you feel, man, they're just here for the money.
Well, you know it if they're going to trade your best players, and you want to win.
But how does he benefit from that, though? I mean, how does he? He's not going to get any extra money for it.
Well, back in the day, way back in the day, owners used to split. But if the players didn't have 50% or 49 or 50 or 51% of the gross, there was nothing.
Right.
And so if you cut your expenses,
right.
you got that money as an owner.
Okay.
So it was, the players did not like it. It was like, oh man, you're not out for the team. You're out for your own, your own financial success, and you understand it as a business then.
And then going from Kaiser to Bolin.
Oh man,
how did the locker room change?
Well, when you realize that an owner is there and he's a player's owner and he's spending money, whatever he can do to help the team win, you're like, hands up, both hands raised, let's go. He wants to win, we want to win. That's what players are playing for,
Well, I think we're going to hear from Greg Penner a little bit later, and I think that Broncos country is going to get that sentiment from him that, hey, he's going to be a coach, an owner. The whole entire group is going to be a group of owners who care about the community, who are going to provide the resources for this team. And I think Broncos country has probably been missing a visual, that visual presence of a leader. And hey, Joe Ellis, I think he did an amazing job, especially considering the circumstances that he was under as the president of the trust. But to have a person who is the owner, who the guys know that they're not only playing for their coaches, they're not only playing for their teammates, they're also playing for the man who writes the checks.
Yeah.
That's a little bit extra, I think.
There's no doubt about that. It gives an extra sense of identity, let's just say, to the team. And I agree with you. It's going to be exciting to see, and especially the group that they've brought in as well with the ownership.
Yes.
And that's a star-studded group. They're phenomenal.
Yes. Yeah, let's talk about this team a little bit. We got the defensive lineman out there, Mike Purcell. You got
the Jones brothers.
The Jones brothers, DJ Jones, Draymond Jones. Well, how easy? There we go. We got our defensive linemen here. First, Mike Purcell going into his 7th year there. DJ Jones, the year under him. Draymond Jones, obviously going into his 4th year with Deshaun Williams, and then McTelvin Najim, the Arkansas Razorback, going into his 3rd year. Jonathan Harris, Marquise Spencer, Jonathan Congo, the rookie Matt Henningsen, and Inyoma Uwazurike. There's no N in there, but I asked him, how do you pronounce it? And he told me Inyoma.
Inyoma.
The N is silent.
You were very good at
not
that.
there, but you got to say the N with it. So how do D linemen make linebackers and safeties and corners make their jobs easier?
It is the #1 requirement to get a pass rush in the NFL, especially today, even back when it was more evenly run pass in my era. But today, when it's a passing era, if you don't get pressure on the quarterback, you can't cover these guys. It's like playing 7-on-7 instead of 11-on-11. These guys are the crux of what causes a great defense. Starts up front, and if you get a good rush, you got chances for interceptions and disruption of the offense. So
now just about every guest has said that Draymond Jones, this is the year he's going to have a breakout year. Do you feel that way?
It doesn't matter what we feel.
But what do you think about Draymond Jones?
You know, he's a great player, and he's got to step it up. And I'm going to say that the Russell Wilson factor is everybody's going to step up their game.
I agree
Everybody's
with that, 100%.
going to step it up. You don't want to be the guy that lets this team down, period.
Yeah, and then DJ Jones obviously was with the 49ers, had a very productive year, several productive years there in San Francisco. What do you see that he brings differently that, you know, maybe was missing from last year?
Well, I think what was missing from last year is the defense was on the field too long. You know, we talked about that. I went to the website before I came here, did a little just reading over the stats and different things. And one of the biggest stats that I saw was third down conversions, and it was like 82 out of 215, something like that, well below 50%. But the other factor was that the opponents had a much higher third down conversion rate, and that's telling on the offense and the defense. And I think Russell Wilson's going to add tremendous amount. The great quarterbacks stay on the field. The Tom Brady's, the Patrick Mahomes, the Aaron Rodgers, they score points, and to score points, you got to stay on the field. And when the offense stays on the field, the defense is much more productive, and they're fired up, and they say, let's give our offense the ball. They play a little bit extra. But when the offense keeps the defense on the field, they get tired.
Oh, yeah. The offense gets invigorated, too. It seems like they get stronger the longer they're on the field.
They do. They do, but the opposite for the defense. So I think that's the biggest thing that Russell Wilson's going to bring, and that's going to add to the defense. A little extra pep in the step for the rush and the linebackers and the DBs.
Well, for me, the importance of defensive linemen is, yeah, you got to get in there, run, and get some pressure on the quarterback. But, man, stopping the run when teams say, all right, they're going to pound the ball on you. Because I don't know about you, but I've been in some games where we couldn't stop the run, and it felt demoralizing.
It's miserable.
And you just got to look at each other and look at, hey, man, look, we just got to fight. I remember being in the huddle saying, hey, we're playing for respect now. Say, you better go up there and hit somebody.
That is right. When they can run the ball, they can play action, and they can pass on first down, and you're not ready for it. And running the ball in any era is a bad omen for the defensive day that day. And so you got to stop the run.
We had several games last year where we needed to stop the run and we couldn't. And, you know, that's what I'm hoping DJ Jones is going to help with. I hope Draymond Jones is able to up his game some, Mike Purcell, those guys, to be able to stop him when we got to have one of those stops.
Well, you know, looking over the defensive roster and the offensive roster, you don't have any holes anywhere.
Yes.
You don't. You're not going out of that. You know, everywhere you got really good and great players. You got really good and great players. You got no average players starting for this team. And so
that's a tribute to George Payton. I give him his props every time I see him. I was like, man, you put together a heck of a roster in a relatively short period of time. We had some of the pieces in place, but he just added that quality depth that I think we need. You know, with the situation with Tim Patrick getting injured. Now, obviously, somebody's going to have to jump off the charts, but here in camp so far, man, Montreal Washington, he stepped up to show what he can do. Seth Williams, I've seen him making some plays. Kendall Hinton making plays. We have quality guys that can play and potentially start if we have those injuries hit.
Well, that's the biggest thing. If we can stay relatively, because there's going to be injuries on every team throughout the league, but to the real key guys on the team and the locker room, you can't have a Russell Wilson go down. You know, you don't want to see a Bradley Chubb, a Justin Simmons,
yes,
a Patrick Surtain, one of the top receivers, the running backs, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
You can't have those guys go down. But if you do, and you got somebody that surprises you and does just as good, that's what great teams are made of.
Yeah, and the teams that win, they do a great job of making sure that their guys are fresh and that they aren't getting injured. As much of an extent as you can control it. I mean, some things are just going to happen.
Well, what we know and what we try and convince ourselves, all the teams in the league, you and I talked about this. Do you think every team has great hope for winning a Super Bowl as they walk in? And I think they do. But
I think they do, but I think some teams know that, hey, man, we don't have a quarterback. We really don't have,
You got
especially if you don't have an outstanding defense. If you don't have a quarterback, you got to have an outstanding defense.
And that's correct. But by and large, you got to have what I call a top 10 quarterback to do anything and go the distance in the playoffs. It's the same every year. It's Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, all these different quarterbacks, but the top guys always lead their teams, and they always seem to end up, Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, all these guys are vying, but they're in the top.
Yeah, and I think those teams do have a focused effort to make sure that, hey, they put players around that quarterback to make plays. They're getting playmakers all across the board. You see some teams that you look at the roster, like, man, they got some players. And in other teams, it's like, who are these other guys? I mean, they couldn't play on the college team.
Well, guess what? All the players around the league go, if they're in a trade situation or a free agent, they're like, who do I want to play for? If you're a wide receiver, do I want to go with Russell Wilson or one of the bottom-tier quarterbacks that are good players?
Yeah.
Just haven't established themselves. But you want to go with the guys that they're going to attract talent. Russell Wilson's going to attract great talent around him.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the DBs. We got Pat Surtain. He's been amazing. K-Jack, Justin Simmons, Ronald Darby, he's been playing well. Thought he got banged up a couple of times here in practice, but he's still out there practicing. I like to see that. Can't make the club in the tub, right, Steve?
That's right.
But we got some guys that are battling for some second-team positions, that slot corner position, that nickel and dime position. Man, we got not the rookie, K'Wan Williams, his first year. Got him in a trade with the San Francisco 49ers, K'Wan Williams. He's back practicing. He had been out with the leg injury. I saw a deep pass there where he was covering and he pulled up. But fortunately, he's back out on the field now practicing with the team. Also a guy that many people haven't mentioned, Essang Bassey. I thought he had a nice physical practice yesterday, made a couple of plays. He was guarding. He was in the slot. He was out on the edge, made some good plays. And we've also seen Damari Mathis, number 27, made some big plays as well. From your experience as both a safety and a corner, which position, I already know you're going to say, which position is most difficult to cover?
No, there's no doubt. Corner. And I tell you what, to be a slot corner in a nickel,
that's probably more difficult than outside corner.
It is, because you got the sideline as your help. In the slot, you're naked, man. You are exposed. You got to be able to cover unbelievable as a slot corner.
Yeah, Essang Bassey there, 34. I think this guy's a playmaker. He gotten hurt a couple of years ago. I think he had a ACL injury. He had to sit out, and then last year he was with a different team for a minute, and then came back to the Broncos. I think this guy can play some ball. He's gonna contribute, and as you know, guys get nicks and bruises, bangs and bruises, and
you gotta have them.
You gotta have a guy like Essang Bassey to step in there when the times get tough.
Yep. And with a leader like Justin Simmons and Patrick Surtain is leading by his play, which has been phenomenal. The guy's going to be an incredible player, barring injury. He's going to be one of the top that's played the game, I think. I mean,
can he get your record? Can he get your record?
He could.
He could?
He could. He's good enough, and to do that as a corner would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because you're limited to one side of the field, you know. But I'm going to say this.
What about 31? Can he get it?
He can definitely get it.
I knew you were going to say that.
31 can. Justin Simmons can definitely get it. And he's a playmaker, and he's got good hands.
He got great hands.
He's got really good
great hands. I saw him one hand a couple of balls out there. I'm like, man, I wish I could do that.
So, again, injury. You got to stay. You got to stay injury free. I know for me, my effectiveness, I would be playing hurt. But if I had a hurt ankle or something, I wasn't really making plays on the ball. I was out there, you know, playing and doing well. You don't want to get beat. You're not getting beat. But to actually make plays, you got to be healthy. Your legs got to be really healthy.
Now, when you played, were you coached by one coach? And did he coach safeties and corners, or did you have, you know, a guy?
Yeah,
one guy for safety, one for corner?
Coach coached safeties and corner, just one defensive back coach. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, he knew the position phenomenally.
Yeah,
both positions. And once we realized just how much this guy, Richie McCabe, knew, everybody was on board. We were stunned at how knowledgeable he was to where you line up on the field to help you make plays. And, you know, just the difference in a full formation, which is a weak side formation, run formation, lining up in on the weak side, on the weak tackle, and versus lining up on the strong guard and a half. You know, for run as a free safety, for the alleys, just being able to run, it meant the difference in you meeting a running back 5 yards down the field or at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And so having a good coach with good sound fundamentals can be a great help to and you know, Pat Surtain got great
from his dad.
Great help from his dad,
Yeah.
who came from old school, but he knows when you look at the footwork, the footwork is there.
Yeah.
It's there. It's tremendous.
Now, I've tried to explain this, and it's difficult to explain because so many thoughts go through your mind as a player. I'm going to describe it to you. But do you have any idea, like, what all went through your mind from the end of one play? Just say you make a tackle, you get up. What goes through your mind from that point until the next play starts?
For me, at corner and at free safety, I was always looking. We were taught to look who's coming in.
Okay.
So
I'm saying this because I'm putting you guys in the minds of what Justin Simmons and Kareem Jackson, Caden Stearns, P.J. Locke, the safeties, this is what's going to have to go through their minds. Something similar to this.
In an instant, you got to see if they're going with a two-back set, a one-back set, if they're coming with no backs in there and 5 wide receivers. You got to know that because the defense that they're going to call is based on the player personnel. So you had to watch. You'd get up and you'd watch who's running off the field and who's running on. And so you were in that mindset. The last play was over so fast you didn't have time to think about it, and you were looking at who was coming in and getting ready for the next call.
Okay, now you see who's coming in. What next?
Well, what next? You're waiting for the call by the defensive coordinator. What are we going to be playing? And you were also looking at the down and the distance. That's critical.
Yes.
You're looking like, okay, it's 2nd and 8. That's pass down. You know, if it's 2nd and 5, that's 50-50 run pass. You have to know all those stats, and every team is different. And we'd go through that in the playbook the week before. What are the stats for 1st and 10? 2nd and long, 2nd and short, 2nd and mid, 3rd and short, 3rd and mid, 3rd and long yardage. You got to know all of those. So those things are going through your mind, and you got to be ready for the call, and you can pretty much anticipate what the calls are going to be.
Okay, guys, they breaking the huddle over there. Now what's going through your mind when the guys breaking the huddle?
when you break in the huddle,
when the offense breaking huddle and you're overwatching.
When they're breaking the huddle, you're looking. Where's the strong side? Where's the weak side?
Where's the tight end?
Where's the tight end?
Yeah.
Or if there's no tight end and they take him out and they put him wide receivers, where's the strength? The 3 wide receivers versus 2 wide receivers, and the strong safeties and the free safeties got to line up, accordingly. And so you're doing a lot of talking on the field. Hey, strong right, and you're calling out different calls on whatever the coverage is. And you're always in constant communication with the corners, and you're seeing giving hand signals and everything else.
All right, so all of you safeties out there, you heard it from the all-time leader in interceptions with 44. You heard it, man. He broke it down for you. This is what you got to do when these teams are coming out of the huddle and you're about to face them. So, yeah, that was a great breakdown. I tried to think about that. Hey, we got Peyton Manning out there talking to Coach Hackett. Man, what do you think they're discussing right there?
Well, it looks like they're talking about something in New Orleans where Peyton's from, and he's saying, man, this poor boy that I got the other day, you got to try it. I had an In-N-Out burger last night. It was that big.
Yes. Oh, man.
I don't know what they're talking. They're talking all kind of stuff, and I know Peyton's trying to restrain himself. The guy's got so much knowledge in his head.
Yeah.
He's trying to restrain and just listen. He's going to be a tremendous asset, because I think a guy like Coach Hackett is going to bounce ideas off of him and say, what do you think about this?
Yes.
And he's got one of the greatest field generals ever to play the game in knowledge base in how to beat a defense. It's going to be great for Russell too.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've spent some time together as well, man. Peyton is one heck of a guy. He's always responsive and super reliable, and what a great career he had, bringing his team to 3rd Super Bowl victory.
Oh yeah, just phenomenal.
Oh man, I'll never forget that play.
No.
Woo!
There you go, DT.
Yeah, man, those are fun times, man, and we're looking to get back to those times here with Russell Wilson.
And he was all business, and Russell Wilson's all business.
Yes. I think you got to have that, though. You got to. You got to show that there's another level of seriousness and of detail that you can get to.
You know what? It's hard to win in the NFL. It's hard, and you got to have a fierce leader. You got to have a guy that can take the bull by the horns, and if you get down by 3 touchdowns, the game's not over.
Yes.
You got to have that guy back there.
See Caden Stearns out there running some drills, hitting the tackling dummy there. Do you like Caden Stearns' game and how he plays at that nickel position? He'll come in, nickel dime, cover some tight ends.
I got to be honest with you here. The last couple of years has not been that interesting to Bronco fans, and I'm looking.
Come on, Foley.
I'm looking for a great, excellent, team, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so excited about this team. I can't stand it. It feels like I'm playing.
So you're back.
I'm back. I'm looking at everything. I hate to say that, but you know what? When a team's not producing, they're not fun to watch.
Yeah.
And you go, and we're not used to that here. We're just not used to it. And I am so excited when they signed Russell Wilson, I was like high-fiving everybody. I said, you have no idea what this means to our team and our fans and just the whole outlook on the season and what. It's going to be fun football now.
Yes, the fun times are back. Now, obviously, we got a lot of work to do to get there, to get on the same page.
So to answer, I haven't watched Caden Stearns a lot. But I know the 4 starters. I know Ronald Darby, Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons and Pat Surtain. I watch them, and I'm like, hey, good football players, great football players. So I'm excited about that, and especially with the linebackers we got, if they stay healthy, the edge rushers we got, we got a good team.
Yeah. Well, Steve, man, this has been a blast.
And it's always fun getting together with you.
We got to do it again soon.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to finish up here. Alexis, back over to you.
Thanks, Steve. Like you heard throughout the show today, just another reminder, tomorrow the Dallas Cowboys will be here for a joint practice, so it will be a heavy day, lots of thudding up. You will not want to miss it. Practice starts at 11 o'clock, but I highly recommend you guys get here early. We cannot wait to see you. Now, if you can't make it, don't you worry. We'll have you covered right here on the Broncos YouTube channel, denverbroncos.com, and of course the Broncos 365 app. The Hall of Famer Steve Atwater, he will be joined by our dynamic preseason broadcast crew featuring Steve Levy, Chad Brown, and Ryan Harris for practice analysis. For Steve Atwater, Steve Foley, James Palmer, and our entire Broncos broadcast crew, thank you all so much for watching Day 13 of Broncos Training Camp 2022. We will see you tomorrow for the last day.